Hey, it's Molly. Welcome back to my YouTube channel as I'm moving through this series discussing how to consciously work with the energies and strengths of the different modalities. So we've talked about the energies of the cardinal signs, the energies of the fixed signs, and now we're looking at the energy of the mutable signs. The mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. And if you have these energies in your chart, then you may resonate with this information that I'm going to share with you. As always, please check in with yourself, discern for yourself if this resonates, if this is true for you, and understand too that I'm only providing some broad strokes here for you to consider and be aware of. So with the mutable signs, your strengths are really in being adaptable, flexible, problem solvers. There's an agility with the mutable signs that's a real gift. And so working with this energy means that you pull in that strength and you allow the mutable signs to find new possibilities, new movement, new solutions, new ideas, provide choices, because the mutable signs can do great when they have that freedom. The freedom to see it in a different way, the freedom to find a new option or a different path to follow. So that is the first tip here for working with mutable signs, is that you want to be able to have choices and also see things in a different way. Mutable signs are wonderful problem solvers. There is a desire to open up to a new approach. And that could be something that you find very satisfying, even something you do effortlessly. The second thing that I have to suggest for mutable signs is that you allow for change and you don't want to be locked in. So you don't want to have to do something the same way all the time, perhaps. You want to be able to experiment or do some testing or try something out. Let's see what new result this brings about. Maybe let's try this and see what happens. So there's this curiosity that's built in, and you want to be able to play with that, to work with that, and to not feel like you have to do something the same way every time. So if you're locked in, that could feel like it basically like shrinks down your natural expression, or it takes away from your strengths. So again, the mutable signs, you need to be able to have your own movement and choices, and it would then be important that you don't feel stuck or locked in to only one way of doing something. Because again, that could kill your spirit. You could be like, it's taking the life out of me. I need the movement. I need to be able to play with this a bit. So again, assess that for yourself and look at how that energy has worked for you or has shown up for you. Now, the third tip I have for working with mutable signs is that because you like variety and change, it's important to call out what needs to stay the same, like what needs to be consistent or what the framework is to work within. And you could see it as literally a frame, and then inside the frame, there's room for the movement and space. But what are the boundaries? What needs to be consistent? What is the budget? What is the timeline? So if you can outline those special parameters for mutable signs at the beginning, then give them room and space to stay open, to see new approaches, all of that, it's going to help them understand what to work within, what is important in terms of boundaries, and also, again, what has to stay the same, meaning what can't change. And that can be the case for so many things, right? Especially at work, certain projects, or maybe some things in your home. It's like some things that can't be messed with or changed. It's important to understand why. And then the mutable signs can focus their energy on what they can solve, what they can be flexible around or try differently. So know that that's part of how the mutable sign energy naturally works, is that it needs that freedom, possibility, choices, and flexibility, but then also be clear in what can't be touched or what is not malleable. Now, the other thing about the mutable signs is that the nervous system can be very active around a lot of things going on. There can be a sense of even like that heightened overthinking, the desire to maybe feel like there's too much happening, it's overwhelm, there's a lot going on, how do I manage this, how do I take this on? So with the mutable signs, the nervous system can be at almost like this quicker pace at times because you're energetically tapped into multiple energy fields at once. And that's a strength. That's a beautiful gift, but you want to be able to harness it, right? Work with it, ground it in, and basically breathe through it. Be very intentional with your breath. Be very intentional with where your energy is going, what you're focusing on, what you're thinking about, and allow that to be something that you consciously work with, and allow it to also look at where you're in overwhelm and where you need to monitor that or do something differently that doesn't feel like it's so much. Because again, the mutable signs can be split, going in all different directions, and that's good for you, meaning you can feel very comfortable doing that, but check in with your nervous system and your energetic body to see how that's showing up and if there's some things you need to dial down or dial back from, simply because maybe it's just all too much at some point. So keep that in mind. I hope this has been useful and insightful. I hope it's given you some good things to ponder and be aware of about yourself. Of course, it's always different depending on how many mutable signs you have in your chart. If your sun is in a mutable sign and your moon is in a fixed sign, well, that's going to be a different combination. But if you have, say, 4, 5, 6 planets in mutable signs, then these particular tips and themes could be very true for you. And I hope it gives you some new understandings of how to work with your energy very confidently as well as more consciously. So thank you so much for joining me here on YouTube. I appreciate your likes, subscribes, and comments, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon right here.